Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast, a new sports fieldhouse as part of big plans in Boone County. We preview the world's first driverless race. The Indy Airport wants you to fly where you would normally drive. We profile an organization serving preschoolers with vision issues. Major renovations continue at the home of the Pacers and the Fever. And Work to Include looks to help those with disabilities succeed in the workforce. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. I'm Andy Ober. A high-profile location along I-65 in Boone County will soon be home to a multi-sport fieldhouse, apartments, townhomes, and cottages. It's all part of a $115 million project. Lebanon Mayor Matt Gentry and Card & Associates CEO Andy Card joined Inside Indiana Business host Gary Dick to detail the plans.
Mayor, this is a big project, $100 million plus, high-profile location, the old Holodome site, I-65 and State Road 39. How big is this project in terms of, Lebanon's future potential growth?
For us, it's a giant leap. I think we've done a great job over the last few years attracting a lot of commercial companies, but this is kind of our first foray in kind of the more tourism sector, youth sports, and of course, with that will come the restaurants, retail, and we're very excited about that.
I think it's interesting. People know Lebanon along the I-65 corridor there for distribution and logistics, obviously. But you mentioned that youth sports now, but we've seen big investment from companies like Monosol in the life sciences sector, Ken's Foods in the food category. The diversity play is kind of coming into focus in Lebanon.
Yeah, exactly. We've been trying to diversify our tax base here, essentially, and we're trying to diversify, the sectors we serve in our community. And so, obviously, hitting the food manufacturing has been good for us. Logistics has always been that base, but we are trying to try new things, and we're very excited to have a new partnership with Card to try youth sports now.
All right, Andy, we're seeing some renderings of the project, major project. Give us the hits, runs, and errors, if you will, on what this project is all about.
It's a 200. It's about nearly 100-acre development, Gary. It's going to be anchored by a 270,000 square foot sports facility, like you mentioned before, 8 indoor courts, 2 full football fields, baseball, softball, volleyball, all the sports amenities will be inside, as addition to 20 square foot of tenant space, which is like businesses where their customer base is walking through our front door. This facility will move about 60,000 people on average a month through the front door. And we also, what'll be different on this project versus some of our others, we're going to have a championship court that will be able to seat in the 2,000 to 2,500 people. So we'll have a championship court for major events. You are no stranger to development of these facilities. This is a big one, but you're certainly involved in owning and operating the Pacers Athletic Center in Westfield at Grand Park. You've got developments in Noblesville, Pendleton. What do you look for? What made Lebanon attractive for this investment? Well, I'll tell you, it starts with the city leadership at the top. Mayor Gentry and I have been talking for nearly 3 years now. And all through the process, Mayor Gentry and his staff have been extremely supportive. And probably the biggest thing, along with that support, is the fact that this specific site where the old Holodome was is right off I-65 and has great infrastructure and interstate access, which is it's paramount to our facilities due to the number of people that we're moving in and out of.
Yeah, big growth area in Lebanon. And I got to ask you, where's the saturation point? We've seen all these developments throughout central Indiana, not to mention other parts of the state. When is it going to be enough in terms of youth sports and tourism?
Well, we're nearly there. This facility announcement certainly helps close the circle. We will be announcing another major facility in the northern end of Indianapolis here shortly, and then another facility on the south side of Indianapolis, and I think that'll about do it for Indiana.
Okay.
So we begin to move across the country.
Very good. Mayor, I've got to ask you, with all of this news, this most latest big announcement, Steve Finke has another big residential project going on in your community as well. I mentioned the life sciences, distribution, logistics, the food service sectors. Seems to be a lot of things coming together now. Do you view this as somewhat of a defining moment for Lebanon and what the future in that community will be like?
Yeah, I think this is a turning point for us. We've been essentially spending the last 5-6 years preparing for growth. We've seen what's happening in Boone County. We're the fastest growing county, second fastest growing county in Indiana. And so we've been trying to prepare for this, get ready for this. And, of course, this announcement is just going to add fuel that fire.
Big news in Lebanon, a $100+ million development, a project, the latest in a series of projects happening in that Boone County community. Mayor Matt Gentry, also Andy Card, the CEO of Card & Associates. Appreciate you taking the time. We look forward to following the project.
Thanks for having us,
Gary.
The Indianapolis Motor Speedway is again hosting history. On October 23rd, the venue will host the Indy Autonomous Challenge, the world's first driverless race. IMS President Doug Bowles came on the show with a preview.
Some new news, if you will, on this event. Again, October 23 is the date. But these teams, these driverless cars and these teams have been testing at Raceway Park. And everyone wants to know how fast these things are going to be going. And interesting developments on how the testing has gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul Mitchell and Matt Peak over at ESN have really been managing through this and making sure that when those cars come to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, they're prepared and they're safe. So they've been testing at Raceway Park, but in the last few weeks, they began the transition here to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And we're seeing speeds in excess of 100 miles an hour from cars that are driving themselves around the speedway. So big improvement over the last several weeks. Can't wait to see what next weekend holds.
Yeah, amazing technology. Doug, this idea has been a long time in the works, and getting up to preparing everyone for it has been a big job. Talk about the competition, really what it's all about. It's about innovation technology, I know, but talk about what folks are going to see in this race.
Well, for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it's just a way to harken back to the beginning of the racetrack. It was built to test the new technology of the day, which was the automobile. So to be able to continue to do that 112 years later, I think Carl Fisher would be pretty excited. For the folks at ESN who are really managing the competition, for them, it's an opportunity to give universities and university students an opportunity to showcase how bright they are and how they can take on a really difficult challenge and be successful with it. For our community, it's awesome because it brings those best and brightest here. And hopefully it puts Indianapolis and central Indiana on the map as a technology hub and a place where we attract some of those folks to come spend their professional careers here in the Indianapolis area.
Yeah, in a big way, putting the spotlight on Indianapolis. That includes the corporate spotlight. I know Cisco Systems, the presenting sponsor, if you will, of this, putting some technology in and around the track as well. So the corporate interest in this race is substantial as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Cisco's been a huge partner for ESN. They've really created sort of the technology communication platform around which these cars can continue to talk to know where they are on the track, talk to the computer so that they can navigate around the track completely autonomously. So we couldn't do it without Cisco. But even people who are endemic to our sport, like Firestone, for example, is really excited about the tire technology that you learn from this. NTT Data has interest in seeing this. So this has a lot of interest, not just for folks like Cisco, but for a lot of brands around the world to see how this next level of autonomous comes along. And I can't wait to hear 10 years from now the number of people that can say, we learned an awful lot at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and it drove the new segment of autonomous technology as really the starting point. Yeah,
big event coming up October 23. Very quickly, Doug, you've got a big event coming up this weekend. IMS continues to be a hub of activity. The Indiana 8-Hour Challenge, going to be some interesting activity on the track.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the second year we've had an 8-hour endurance race on Sunday. So it's 8 hours with some of the best cars in the world. It's the SRO GT Challenge. And this year, unlike last year because of COVID, we have international teams competing. About 45 of them will compete. They take the green Sunday morning and they take a checker at the end of the day after 8 hours. It's a blast to see. I can't wait to see folks out here for that. Just again, trying to continue to use the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for some of the best racing of the year, not just during the month of May, but all year long.
Yeah, global spotlight indeed. Also for the Indy Autonomous Challenge, October 23. IMS President Doug Bowles. Doug, as always, thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you, Gary.
All right.
Indianapolis International Airport is partnering with Contour Airlines in hopes of convincing people to fly to destinations where they would normally drive. Around Indiana reporter Mary Rachel Redmond hopped aboard for a trip to Milwaukee.
fly me to the moon.
Here you go, sir. Or Milwaukee in my case.
These are my favorite. Makes you feel like you're extra athletic.
But anywho, this week Indy took one small step and one leap for nonstop destination flights with the official rollout of Contour Airlines.
Connecting Indiana to the world and to the rest of the country is really important to us. We're so excited about Contour Airlines connecting Hoosiers to drive markets, Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, and Nashville.
Never heard of Contour? I hadn't either. But the Smyrna, Tennessee-based premium low-fare air service reaches across 17 cities nationwide. Plus, it's not every day you get to test an airline.
Thank you.
A scan of the ticket.
Here we go.
And I was on my way, joining several other Hoosiers this week on the inaugural Contour flight to Milwaukee.
We saw there was a direct flight, so we wanted to go do it. It's the easiest way to get there. It's only an hour.
And no better way to spend that hour than with the man in charge of Contour Airlines, Matt Chaffetz.
This is the CEO of this company. Wow. Why did you choose Indianapolis as a market?
When we looked at the cities that had the greatest number of unserved routes under 500 miles that we felt like are the right fit for our aircraft and our product, Indianapolis was at the top of the list.
So what can folks expect when flying Contour?
I think our roots as a private jet charter company really prepared us to run a scheduled airline well. When you have people paying $8,000 an hour to charter an aircraft, they want to make sure that their aircraft shows up on time. And so you build an infrastructure to support that, and we run our scheduled airline the same way. We operate Embraer regional jets that were originally built to hold 37 or 50 people. And regardless of whether it's a 37 or 50 passenger variant, we've removed rows and respaced those. So all of our service aircraft have 30 seats.
And perhaps the best parts, each seat has 3 feet of legroom. That's the equivalent of first class in most of your domestic flights. So let me tell you, it's a pretty comfortable ride.
But really, I think the reason people end up on Contour is because we're going where they need to go. On every single route that we fly, we're the only nonstop option. And on the other side, we're the only carrier flying between large and mid-sized business markets that don't have nonstop service. On all of our new routes from Indianapolis, we're the only carrier offering nonstop service. So if you need to get to Milwaukee, Contour is, I think, clearly the best option.
This Hoosier businessman definitely agrees.
Well, I don't have to drive 4.5 hours. I don't have to go through Chicago and deal with the traffic. I don't have to stop and, it takes 6 hours or 7 hours to get up there because you got to stop and eat, get gas.
And just like that, we're here in Milwaukee, minus the 5-hour drive. It took us 1 hour via flights. Now we're checking out the Miller Brewing Company. Just a little one-day vacation.
But for this Yorktown teen, new access to direct flights through Contour means more time with mom.
Easily get on a flight for 40 minutes, come see her, instead of just driving like it's literally 6 hours. It'll literally be a 40-minute flight and I'm already here, and I could probably do it once every couple weekends. Makes their life a lot easier.
Mary Rachel Redman, Inside Indiana Business.
Indiana University, Purdue University, and Notre Dame are joining forces to host a cybersecurity summit. The hope is to outline challenges and potential solutions to policymakers and business leaders. IU Cybersecurity Program Chair Scott Shackelford joined us with insight on the increasing threat.
I want to talk about this summit coming up on Monday, but first, cybersecurity, obviously a hot button issue, very much in the forefront of the minds of businesses and organizations all over the globe. And Indiana, really, thanks in large part to the academic institutions and others, really a leader in cybersecurity.
We're in a fortunate position. As you say, a lot of the trend lines don't look particularly promising. Ransomware rates alone have gone up at least 45% since last December. And of course, that's during, as you pointed out, an ongoing global pandemic. But we are fortunate to have so many leading research universities and businesses in the state that we can leverage to hopefully help bend these curves.
Yeah. Scott, put a kind of a point on this severity here, because this is not just a global deal. This is hitting home here. I mentioned the healthcare organizations, Eskenazi Hospital, Johnson Memorial, Hancock Regional, among others, targeted, some paying ransoms, actually. This is really hitting home in Indiana.
It really is. We were fortunate to help work with the Indiana Executive Council on cybersecurity this last year to produce our first ever state level snapshot to take a look at how businesses are faring with a variety of different cyber risks and how well they're using best practices. And we found, for example, that unfortunately more than 20% of these businesses have reported experiencing a cyber attack within the last 3 years. And of course, many unfortunately are just not aware that they had experienced such an attack. And in terms of the good news, the word's getting out. There's a lot of concern about this issue, including ransomware, but still a lot of confusion about what we can do about it. Where should we put that next dollar of investment?
Yeah, another big challenge, Scott, is workforce and getting workers trained in these key areas and into the workforce.
Indeed, when you look across Indiana alone, there's more than 2,300 open cybersecurity positions right now, with estimates nationwide ranging from 500,000 to north of 3 million already. Indeed, it's a vital helping profession of the 21st century that's just going unfulfilled. So there's a big negative unemployment rate, and we at our Indiana universities are happy to help support and create that pipeline.
Hey, you only have about 30 seconds, Scott. Tell us about this summit, IU, Purdue, Notre Dame, high-profile speakers, including Dan Coates. Tell us about this summit.
Our goal was to convene cybersecurity thought leaders, get them in front of policymakers and businesses to give them the information that they sorely need to help make educated decisions. As you said, this is the first time our 3 universities are joining forces in this way, but it won't be the last. We're hoping to make this an annual gathering.
Scott Shackelford, the chair of cybersecurity at IU Bloomington. Thanks for joining us.
Remember, you can catch Inside Indiana Business Television on stations throughout the state every weekend. Head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com to check listings. Nearly 2,000 Hoosier children under the age of 5 are blind or visually impaired. Visually Impaired Preschool Services works throughout the state to support those children and their families. Regional Director Meredith Howell spoke in the business of health.
I'd love to know a little bit about your organization.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. VIPS is a nonprofit organization, and we provide early intervention to infants and toddlers, so birth to 3, all throughout the state of Indiana. And we started in Louisville, Kentucky back in 1985, and services started over here in 2011. And since then, we have just grown exponentially, providing support to this very underserved population of children in need.
Okay, so let's talk about this new center. I read there is a toddler town. There's a lot of resources, a clinic. Give us a tour, if you will, of what's going to be offered there.
Yeah, so we will have, it's the first of its kind in the state. And what makes it so unique is that everything is accessible for a young child who is blind or visually impaired. So we'll have a sensory room and a lending library for the parents, so they're able to check out Braille books and large print books and Braille writers, things that will provide early literacy to their little ones who are blind or visually impaired. We'll also have a sensory garden, an adaptive playground, a nice open teaching space for all of our teachers that are usually out on the road, but now they're going to be able to serve babies in the center as well. We'll have a large parent hub for families and teachers to be able to get together and have them, parents be able to let their guard down and be around other families that have children with very specialized needs. So we couldn't be more thrilled about this very exciting endeavor.
And this is personal to you. I mean, you know as a mom how important these services are.
I do, yes. So my daughter Lola is now 10, but we were served by VIPS years ago, and it was such a life-changing experience that I now get to wake up every day and advocate for families like my own. So it's wonderful that we're going to have this new center that has never existed in Indiana. And now my daughter, it's too late for her. She's older now, but it won't have to be too late for another family who has a young child who's blind or visually impaired in Indiana for much longer.
Okay, so what do you feel are the real skills that these children will receive? How will this really make the difference for them in these preschool years?
We work on everything from, we're working on cognitive skills, developmental skills. How do you bond with your baby if your baby doesn't make eye contact with you? How do you get her to crawl across the room if she can't see you in order to be motivated to crawl? So there are all these little things that just don't come naturally to a sighted parent. And so we work on all the developmental skills. And we're also working on early literacy and communication and, all social skills, things that these kids will need to go on and have a level playing field with their sighted peers as they enter into preschool or kindergarten.
Well, Meredith, thank you so much for your time, and we wish you all the best at the new resource center and then also what you're doing statewide. Thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you so much.
Lorenzo Esters has been a longtime leader and visionary in higher education throughout the country. His newest role is chancellor of Ivy Tech's Indianapolis campus. Esters talked about his plans in our Eye on Education segment.
Before we get to the nuts and bolts here, I got to ask you about that getting fit with the chancellor. I think that's a great idea. How did that go?
Well, it was awesome, Gary. It really was an opportunity for me to connect with the students. So on Tuesdays, for about a period of 8 weeks, we exercised with students. On Tuesdays, that included running about 5 miles. And on Thursdays, it included cycling for about 10 miles. We had about 30 students or so to join. It was a great opportunity for me to connect with the students, to learn about their goals and aspirations or any challenges they may be facing. And actually, it helped me drop a few pounds as well.
That's great. A true win-win. I like it. Hey, Dr. Esters, talk about your background, because you come to Ivy Tech, I think, with a unique perspective on higher education and really the challenges, the opportunities that exist today in the ever-changing world of higher ed.
Absolutely, Gary. And let me just tell you, first of all, I'm a first-generation college attendee. I grew up in a working class family. My father succumbed to cancer when I was 3 years old, so I understand the importance of an education and the ability to connect that education to work as a pathway out of poverty for me. So I have spent my career at the intersection of college access, college success, and career readiness for students. So it's not just about the education or the credential, but it is really the ability to connect that education, that learning to work that leads to a sustainable life, if you will, and a fulfilling career.
Yeah, that whole work and learn model, if you will, I know is very central to that, what you're talking about there. As you look at your vision for Ivy Tech and rolling that out in the months ahead, what are the keys? What some of your goals?
Well, let me just say, first of all, as a system, our president, Sue Ellsman, is very, very innovative leader, and certainly she is passionate about the positive education. And she has given us an ambitious goal. And that goal is to produce about 50,000 certification certificates and associate's degrees annually over the next several years. So my goal, first of all, is to do our part here in Indianapolis, Gary, in the achievement of that goal. And that's going to require being a campus without walls. So my model is, how do we take the campus to the community? And in my opinion, there are several ways that we're going to be focusing on doing that. And that is working through community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, taking the degree and credentials to employers, meeting employees where they are. So we have a program called Career Coaching and Employee Connections, and that, or CCEC, it focuses on ensuring that we're providing one-on-one coaching for students, helping them with resume writing, et cetera, but also creating tailored or customized training for employers. So my vision is to ensure that we're taking the campus to the community, number one, to achieve those goals around certifications and associate's degrees.
Yeah, certainly attainment and alignment, very important issues. As you look at the relationship that certainly exists now, but how you view that relationship between Ivy Tech and the business community to make things happen.
Absolutely. So what we want to do is ensure that we are meeting the needs of those employers. And to do that, what we've done over the last several weeks is we've brought on 6 new individuals to our campus board of trustees, representing various industries, whether it's healthcare, agriculture, labor, et cetera. So that we are remaining informed, if you will, about the needs of these employers moving forward. The other opportunity for us, though, is we're doing a major convening where we'll be working with people like the Indianapolis Airport to ensure that we're creating pathways for their employees to degrees or credentials. One of the things we know, Gary, over the last several months in the midst of this pandemic, individuals have decided they want to change jobs or they want to choose a different career. it's our opportunity to ensure that we're providing pathways for them to do so by working with employers, whether it means providing paid opportunities for them to earn certifications right on the employment site, et cetera.
All right, the new Indianapolis chancellor for Ivy Tech Community College, Dr. Lorenzo Esters. Dr. Esters, it's really been a treat talking with you, learning about your vision for the school, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you so much, Gary.
The home of the Indiana Pacers, Indiana Fever, and countless entertainment events is about to wrap up the second phase of a $360 million renovation. Pacer Sports and Entertainment President Rick Fuson updated the project with Bill Benner on Inside Indiana Sports.
Have to pardon our dust for a couple more months as we put these things together. But as we come into next year and as we close down next summer and then come back in the fall, I think this gathering space is going to be tremendous for downtown. We're not going to have to close the street. It'll go well with in terms of what happens on Georgia Street between the convention center and Bankers Life, and think ultimately, when the jail property goes to the east side of town and all the way to Luger Plaza, talk about the corridor there. We're going to be another generation of great places to have things like Big Ten or the NCAA first and second round or regionals or Final Four. Whatever the case may be, I think we continue to set up our downtown for a great future for all these sporting events and conventions as well.
Hey, Rick, just less than a minute left. Talk about the season opener, October 23rd. They're going to have a gold out and certainly anticipate a capacity crowd as NBA basketball in its full form finally returns to Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Yeah,
it's going to be really exciting. You think about it. We haven't been in a full gym under any case in basketball for 19 months, almost 20 months now. After the Big Ten stopped and the NBA went down, we were in the bubble, and then we had modified crowds last year. But think about that. Think about the pictures that you might have seen from the gold out, or think about you're cutting your grass and you're wearing that T-shirt. This is a new start. I think it's a new start for all of us to come together to celebrate the game that we love so much in Indiana. And this Pacer team with Rick Carlisle at the helm, we are really excited about it. We got some great young players. We got our other players back. And I think we're really looking excitement in downtown Indianapolis for the Indiana Pacers as we go forward in this new season.
Well, Rick Fuson, President and COO of Pacer Sports and Entertainment. Exciting time for Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Congratulations to you, Mel Raines, and all the Pacers team for this phase of the renovation. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it so much.
And finally this week, one of the most prominent voices in Indiana's Work to Include coalition is Tom Morris, a fitness lover who was paralyzed after a mountain biking accident. Now he's looking to inspire others with challenges to succeed in the workforce. Morris joined us with more on the organization's mission.
Well, hey, I want to talk about the Work to Include initiative, a statewide coalition, and the efforts of that group. But your story is truly an amazing one. You were, I think, a triathlete, very active, had a dream of being a strength and conditioning coach and instructor for many, many years. And then you had this serious accident that really changed everything at that time.
It sure did. I lived a life that was basically, I had no boundaries. I was out there living the life of pure freedom, doing a job that I never felt like I worked out a day in my life, and being able to compete in sport where it just gave me an identity. And then 9 years ago, a mountain bike accident made that all come into question. And it pretty much zeroed me out, paralyzed me from the chest down, and it left all four limbs either impaired or not working at all.
Wow. Was there a moment, obviously, that you thought that was your dreams career-wise had ended? Was there a moment that kind of changed you and say, hey, listen, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to continue to follow my dream and follow through on it?
Yeah, it was four days after this accident. I'm still feeling pretty good. But on the fifth day, the reality of everything that was taken away from me really came out. And I learned that I'd lost all my independence. And that was the moment that it really rocked me and made me question what was happening and how I'd be able to come back. But it only lasted about 12 to 15 hours. And then the reality set in of, I'm going to gain back this life. I'm going to work my butt off. I'm going to control what I can. And I'm going to systematically keep gaining back everything that I had before just going to come back and do it a bit differently.
Yeah, and you're doing it in a big way at Indiana University and beyond, statewide, through the work to include coalition of teams around the state of Indiana, really focused on helping to get Hoosiers with disabilities, helping to get them on the job. There's a statistic I find interesting. There's some 463,000 Hoosiers with disabilities, but of that amount, less than 40% were employed at last look. So there's a real opportunity there and some real challenges you're trying to address.
Absolutely. Those numbers are staggering. And when you look at that much of the potential workforce that's out there, and just sitting there not doing anything, it breaks my heart because, working for so many, it isn't a chore. It's such a luxury to be able to come in and impact people and to make a difference, to have a passion and to be able to show that passion and help others. And knowing that there's that many people that are unemployed, it is really tough. So it's our goal to spread the message, to be able to share that, to get employers to help these people. Yeah, and especially during this age of workforce shortages, which we're talking about on a daily basis. And you're a prime example of the talent that's out there in the community of those people facing disabilities. Incredible talent through a range of areas that can be put to good work. Well, I really appreciate that. And there are so many. I mean, there's just the amount of people that I've been able to meet that are currently unemployed, that do have a disability, but the impact that they can make from their perspectives to just their passions to the lives they've lived and how they can impact everyone around them. It's staggering and it's unbelievable. And that's why we need to continue to keep forcing and pushing with this initiative. Tom Morris, Senior Assistant Athletic Director for Athletic Performance at IU. Tom, an amazing story, very inspiring, and really neat you're branching out even beyond the university, going statewide. Thanks for joining us and good luck going forward. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments, as well as the top business news from throughout the state at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Andy Ober for Inside Indiana Business.